So we're 8 episodes into Original Sin, and I think one of the most natural things you do with a show like this is you compare the characters. And the one for me that is the most important comparison is of course the main character, Dexter. Now Patrick Gibson plays Dexter, and I think he's done a fantastic job so far. So what I want to do is I want to look at a few attributes: his aesthetics, his mannerisms, and his character, because these are the 3 most important comparison points in my opinion. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, like the video. I have a massive video coming out when the show finishes, and I can't wait for that. I just can't wait to talk about Patrick Gibson now. I need to do it right now. So let's do it. When we talk about Patrick Gibson as Dexter, I think it's so important to talk about Michael C. Hall as well and how he defined the role. I think Michael C. Hall as Dexter is one of the most fitting performances in TV ever. It reminds me of Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal. They just fit the role so perfectly, and I think Michael C. Hall really gives that right vibe to Dexter. I know Dexter's a little different in the books, but I mean, I've read the first book and I don't think it's too distant from Michael C. Hall's performance at all. But here we get a much younger Dexter and a much more unexperienced Dexter. So while it is the same character, it's a different role, and that's the most important thing to understand in my opinion. Now, if we're talking aesthetically, I don't want to be too harsh here, because I think, for example, in the show, Deb aesthetically looks completely different, but as an actor, probably the closest performance. Now with Dexter, and look, Patrick Gibson can't control how he looks. I think they've made him look very different. If you see how he looks in real life, he looks completely different. But how much does he look like Dexter? I think it's close. If you see how jacked he is, now he's a different body shape, really, but he has the right sort of idea for Dexter, and this is maybe what a younger Dexter would have looked like, a bit more unexperienced. I think prime Dexter's body, and this is a little weird of me to say, but the prime of Dexter's body, in my opinion, is in that scene where Dokes finds him out, and you can see him under the shirt, and you can see every muscle is tight, every muscle is perfectly designed for its use, and this is what I like about Dexter's body. But you get what I mean. It's very streamlined. Everything has a use to it. Patrick Gibson's probably a bit more swole, but this is what he maybe would have looked like younger, and I like this about him. I think his hair is very close. He does have a widow's peak, which relatable, and that does make his hair quite a lot different in my opinion. You know, especially when it's longer, you can really tell. But I mean, he can't help that, and I think it's the same colour, it's the same sort of vibe. I have no complaints about his hair. I do think he's naturally a bit more lankier, which I think makes him look a lot more taller, but I looked online and I'm pretty sure they're both exactly the same height. So looks wise, he passes as a young Dexter, and although it took me a while to get used to, I think by the 3rd or 4th episode I saw him as a younger Michael C. Hall. If we're talking about his mannerisms, this is where I think he got Michael C. Hall perfect. Even from there's a thing where Michael C. Hall spins out of the door, and Patrick Gibson got that like on lock. He really understands Michael C. Hall's character, and he deserves credit because I think he really studied Michael C. Hall and he copied everything. The smirk is maybe a bit overdone. It feels a little unnatural. I'll be honest, when I originally watched Dexter, I didn't even notice the smirk that much. I think naturally he's got quite a smirky face, whereas Patrick Gibson probably does not. So when Patrick Gibson does it, you can tell he's trying to do it, which makes it more unnatural, but it's not his fault, and he is trying to copy someone else. That's what you've got to remember. There's a perfect quote from Dokes where he says, Dexter glides on ice like a lizard.
You don't even walk like a normal person, you glide like a fucking lizard on ice.
And I think Patrick Gibson gets this perfectly. The way he walks through rooms, the way he analyses rooms, is exactly how you imagine Dexter would do, even as a younger man. I think a big thing about the mannerisms as well is his eating. In the original show, Dexter was a bit of he wasn't fat, but he had an appetite, and they really take it to the max in this show. They really make him like just a binge eater, and this is an aspect of comedy in this show that I really enjoy, and it's something that I think makes him feel closer to Dexter, even though they maybe overemphasize it a little bit much. Now, I mentioned we were going to talk about his character, and again, the character aspect of things is so important. It can't be overemphasized. This is a younger Dexter, so the way they need to showcase this character is younger. It's so important because he can't be the same character. He has to learn a lot, and he does. I think one of the main things that jumped out to me was his excitement during kills. There's one kill especially, I think in the 2nd or 3rd episode, where you see his face, And I don't think I've ever made this face in my life. This was amazing acting. When he cuts the body and the blood splashes on him, you can see the euphoria just running through his veins, and I loved how they did this. It really makes you understand Dexter, because maybe he becomes desensitized to killing, but in the later seasons when he kills people, it feels more like a relief. And it is to him, and that's the whole point. But in this show, it's not only just a relief, it's the relief of something he's been waiting to do for years, and something he's, you know, it's like having sex for the first time almost. He's really, really enjoying this, and this is so new to him. And I think Patrick Gibson does an amazing job of portraying that. This is more of a writing thing, but his uncontrollable bloodlust is something that really impressed me as well. You can see in the first few episodes of the show especially, he just really wants to kill. And again, he's like a desperate hormonal teen that needs to act on his hormones. And this is exactly how I'd imagine a younger Dexter. When we see Dexter as Michael C. Hall, we see someone who's more controlled. We see someone who has urges, but he's more able to control them, and he's more patient. Here, he's being made to be patient, and he really doesn't want to be. And again, I think Patrick Gibson portrays this brilliantly. He just looks like, even I think he's like 30 years old. He's like a dog, and you put this beautiful steak in front of a dog, and he needs that steak, but he can't have it. And that's the impression I get from him. He has this affection with children as well, where he seems really warm, especially towards the captain's son. His name escapes my mind right now, I'll put it on screen. But there's this scene where he's playing Sonic with him, and to me, that was one of my favourite scenes in the show. I love seeing Dexter socialise and have a bit of fun, seeing stuff outside of him being a psychopath or a serial killer. It's really nice, and it really makes you love the character a bit more. I think seeing him socialise as well. I think one of my favourite scenes in the show is when they're playing darts and he's socialising. I just think the character is so funny, and the character of Dexter when he socialises, even in the original show, it's so awkward and funny. It's so enjoyable to watch. And again, Patrick Gibson does a wonderful job of expressing that awkwardness of Dexter. I think he does an amazing job. I can't say that anymore. You also see him learning a lot by mistake, which is important. This is something I didn't even think of coming into this show, but when he's doing his kills, it's completely different. The way he wraps his victims are different. The way he knocks his victims unconscious is different. Even the way he hides bodies are different. Everything's completely different, and what he finds out is that his methods aren't perfect yet, like they are again in the main show. So you see him refining his skill set, and he gives a lot of credit to Harry, but Harry doesn't hide bodies. Harry doesn't know exactly what to do, so Dex has to learn himself and make mistakes. And gee, does he make mistakes. I mean, he lets Ralph Cifaretto go anywhere, doesn't he? I didn't even realize this was Ralph Cifaretto. I literally watched The Sopranos recently, and I could not recognize this man. I think again, it's so important to emphasize that playing a younger Dexter is different, and if he feels different in the show, it's because he is a different character. He's unnurtured. In the main show, Dexter is this perfect serial killer. He's meticulous, and he's kind of a sociopath. In this show, he hasn't had much social interaction. He doesn't understand people yet. He's very analytical, and he has those talents that Dexter has, but they're unpolished. And again, Patrick Gibson, amazing job. I think he does. I think he's done an exceptional job as Dexter. Really, I do. Let me know what you think. It's just a quick video to keep you going. Again, I've got a big video on Dexter coming up on Original Sin. It's going to be my biggest, longest video yet, and I'm hoping on getting people on board with me for it to feature in the video. It's something I'm really excited for. It's a project I've been working on since the show started, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So make sure you're subscribed. If you like the video, it should come up in your For You page when I upload it. Maybe even, turn notifications on. This is going to be a big video, and I'm so excited. I just hope it does well. Better than my Hulk video, because that's flopped. Again, please watch it. I'd love that. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know. Let me know what you think of Patrick Gibson as Dexter. Thank you for watching. Bye.